So my team includes John, Aulani, myself, and the three of us. We sort of started with a very broad net. We wanted to just sort of throw out our net and see what we could find. And our topic was Lili'u initially.
Just what she was doing after the overthrow, like from the morning after to several years after. So in effort to kind of isolate that, because there was so much material, we started to see that there were there's a series of articles about her travels, chronological pieces on what she was doing once she left Hawaii. And so we kind of started to collect those, and the Ohina formed from really the way people were seeing it in the 19th century.
We chose to look at Lili'u Huaka'i to Washington in 1896, 1897, and the experiences that she experienced there. So it just gives us an opportunity to look at this specific topic for a short window in history.
Let's talk about Lili'u's Huaka'i to America, when she goes to America to fight for her kingdom. The way that it's illustrated in the papers, it's like when we're translating, we see them leave Hawaii on the ship and they arrive in San Francisco. There are people already waiting there. They've got telegraphs. There are people excited to welcome them. They bring flowers. There's a band playing, and all these things are like reprinted in the newspapers. And so it's really telling this story. But the importance of a trip, it's different in the Kealohaina, in the Ku'okoa, and in the Makainana. Everybody has a different opinion on to why she's going to Washington.
It was rumored she was going to Washington, D.C. to confront the United States about the overthrow, but she wasn't forthcoming with that. And she left not really telling anybody. So, it's hard to know who knew and who didn't know, but the public didn't know that she was leaving. And then she left, and a lot of people didn't realize she had left. And then, they started to report that she was traveling, and she pretty much stuck to her story that she was seeing family, visiting her husband's family.
And to as she traveled around, the United States of America, and visited these places, the articles that we translated all highlighted the way that she was so well received, and just the etiquette that she had, and the stature that she had, and the presence that she brought wherever she went. It was something that was folks looked up to it, and folks really saw the beauty in it.
Yeah, Julius A. Palmer and Joseph Hele. They're a huge presence in the Ohina, both of them, because they are doing a lot of they're tasked with the correspondence for the Queen. So a lot of these letters that are printing in the Hawaiian language newspapers that we've translated are letters that are written by them for a Hawaiian audience.
It's so cool to see that when she's in there, she's got Julius Palmer on one side and she's got Hele on the other side. And she's also, at that time, she's being a prolific writer. She's already having ideas of writing her autobiography while she's on that trip. So there's a lot of significant things that are happening. And I'm also tying this back into what I'm doing in my 302 class right now, reading Huaka'i Kopi'olani, and Lili'u was on that trip with Kopi'olani in 1887, and thinking about, okay, just a decade and a half later, she's here for a whole nother reason, but it's not malihini to her. So she's already had these relationships. So when she goes to Boston, she's got a place to stay. There's rumors that she's going to buy a house there.
There was really interesting, the number of people that came out to receive her as she traveled across North America. I mean, in the thousands and thousands, and there was this huge emphasis on that. People wanted to see her, like they wanted to see the Queen of the Hawaiian Islands, and it was kind of hard to decide whether or not that was sensationalized or if it was political. People were aware of what was happening with Hawaii. I think people were well connected, and to make an assumption that they showed up to see her not aware of the political situation, I think that's unrealistic, I think, to some extent.
It was interesting, and it was insightful to read about those experiences that she had with the people there in Washington, and high-ranking folk of the United States who she met with and who she interacted with on her travels.
That was one of the biggest takeaways for me, is realizing that the support wasn't just Hawaiian, and neither was the support for the annexation just Hawaiian. You know, like in other words, people were divided all over the place. And to see to see the print in coming from different international perspectives of the support for reinstating her or not annexing was much greater than I think I was led to believe by whatever my experiences in education were.
Yeah.
Were you guys, through your research, able to ascertain what the purpose of her trip was?
She met with Cleveland, but she didn't want to tell anybody. She didn't want any of the reporters know that she was going to meet Cleveland. And I was just translating 2 weeks ago that there's a telegraph that comes to Washington saying that there's an attempt on her life. And so there are people who are trying to really slander her, and it's reaching. And so what Julius Palmer in this article, sorry, because it's really fresh in my mind, Julius Palmer gets word that there's a telegraph sent. And so he goes to the phone house, and he picks up the phone, and it's a phone call from Honolulu, and it's somebody speaking Hawaiian. Julius Palmer is Lili'u's English secretary. He doesn't know a lick of Hawaiian. So he writes it down, and the person calling him spells every letter out of the message, and then he hands that to Lili'u, and Lili'u deciphers the message, and they leave the Shoreham Hotel because it says that there are people there attempting to kill her. And it's like, this is what they're printing in the newspaper. This is the Huaka'i who are printing this. So, I mean, I don't know how accurate that may be, but she did leave the Shoreham. So in Aulani's article, they didn't even explain the justification why she left the Shoreham. They just said that they just upped and left the Shoreham. But in the Huaka'i, they said. So it's like, that's what I think the value is from drawing from three different newspapers.
Having read 3 different newspapers, you're seeing all these different perspectives and people who are on different
It's like piecing
sides,
together this narrative. Yeah. John had Ke Aloha, which is a very nationalistic newspaper. So was Kamakaʻainana, which Aulani had. And it's apparent in their writings, in the way that they deploy their rhetorical devices, how they write, what kind of metaphors that they use, what lines of songs that they pull in. That's a very nationalistic approach to reporting on the Queen's journey. Whereas in the Huaka'i, they're just like, yeah, she was there, then she left there, she went to the Shoreham Hotel, she stayed there, she left, and that's it. You know, you don't get that same sort of pride, that national pride that all these other newspapers have. So I'm hoping that down the line in the future, whoever picks up our Ohina can explore that a little further.
So for anyone who's really interested in knowing more about Lili'u or that period of time, I think to come into any kind of opportunity to learn with an open mind, in other words, not stuck on a personal agenda of trying to prove something, kind of let the material inform you in ways that be open to what it's saying, and try to think about who the audience was for that material. I think you walk away with more.